Do you know that feeling you get when you start a new file and you're facing an empty canvas on your screen, and for a moment you feel lost and you don't know where to start? It's kind of daunting, right? Like you start and it's empty. I imagine this is the writer's block for writers, but if there's such a thing, there's a product design block of when you start a new file and you just have to think of what to put in it. If you haven't experienced that, I am so jealous of you. I go through this every single time I have to start a project. Actually, matter of fact, I have this before starting a project. So I have this fear of not knowing what to put in it, which makes me procrastinate and get to the very end of a deadline when I have to submit a design. If any of this sounds interesting at all to you or familiar, don't despair. There are ways you can get unblocked, and through the years, I've found what works for me, because what was working for everyone else didn't work for me. So if with this I can help even just one person find their routine and get unblocked when starting a file, that's going to be a success for me. So if you're interested, listen along. We're going to do this today. Alright, so now follow me onto Figma. If I look this way, it's because I'm trying to look at the screen. It's not because I don't want to look at you guys. I'm in the untitled screen that shows up when you hit this plus icon and try to create a new file. So I like to create in drafts because I work on a big team, and whenever I create a file, if I create it in the project folder, a lot of people will see it, and there's no really reason to clutter the projects page with just a bunch of untitled files that I don't know where they're gonna go, what they're gonna be named. So what I usually do first is, if I know the name of the project, I'll just rename it and call it, Project Alpha or whatever it's called. All right, then what I do is I go here where it says page 1, I expand this and try to give myself some breathing room here, and start from the very first page. So in order to get unblocked, I try to not think about content yet, but try to put a structure to it, so that when the structure is in place, then I feel more ready and creative to actually start exploring. So from here, I go with first thing first. I need a cover. So I don't have one yet, so it will come, I'll have it. Usually what I do is I copy it from an existing file that I worked on. So yeah, I usually just create a cover and we'll fill it out later. I just know that sooner or later I'm gonna add a cover. For now, it's not public, so no one will care or will know. So I go ahead and add a divider. So a divider for me is just an empty page with, some dashes as a name, so that it separates the cover from the actual content. I just don't do anything on this page. And then I hit plus again, or add a new page, and I add my main 2 pages. So one is explorations. So I usually always add the explorations tab and the references tab. So now let me spend a little bit more time here. Let's start from the references tab actually. I usually add that as my go-to, the first place that helps me get unblocked. So what I do there is I copy paste into the references tab anything that comes from previous projects, screenshots of competitors, maybe audits that were done in the past. I just screenshot a ton of stuff. So yeah, I'm a heavy screenshotter. I lose my files a lot, which is, I don't know, not optimal for working at Dropbox, but I like to just screenshot stuff and reference it here so that I don't have to look for it every single time that I need it. So I just, fill this up with references. The more you have actual UI vectorized references from past projects instead of screenshot, of course, the better. And in those cases, I would just copy paste. But sometimes you're looking at competitors, you don't have the sketch file or the Figma file for them. And so I just dump stuff here. So let's say, for example, I have this folder of photos, Koi photos. Koi is my dog. And so let's say that I'm creating a photo app for my dog. And so I'm gonna need, some reference files. They're gonna, of course, paste as huge. It doesn't matter right now because I'm not trying to organize them in a pretty way. Actually, the most messy this page is, the best. This just reflects my mind and how like things are, you know, crazily organized in there. Okay, seems like I'm having connection issues, but it doesn't matter. So from here, I have like all of these references, and usually this page becomes huge, full of stuff. I go into my explorations. So this is my playground, my like place where I can do whatever I want with the designs. So I usually just go ahead and take maybe the one that is a better reference for me. And imagine that these photos are actual UI of stuff. There's no need to have that now, but imagine that this is an iPhone screen. I just go and duplicate as much as I can, try to change things up and figure out where I want to go. So this is a space for me to just explore. Hence, it's called exploration. Now, I like to keep it simple. People add emojis right before the names, you know, like maybe some sort of compass or some sort of book. If you like it, do it. If you're a super visual person for these things, I discovered of myself that I end up getting distracted more than necessary if I have emojis there. So I just go with plain text. But you do you. So once I have these, there are a number of accessory pages that I add depending on the project. Some projects are very well done with this because maybe we need to move super fast, and explorations are all it takes till I got a good one. Hit that share button, anchor it onto one of the explorations, and my engineers will figure out that that's where I need to take them, where they need to be taken. Sometimes you may need to be more explicit and add something like a, I don't know, M0, maybe your first milestone, and you add it here. And then what I like to do is to separate, use a divider again, roughly at the same number of dashes as the one above, but a divider that divides anything that is temporary and work in progress from the actual milestones. So you could imagine this becoming, a milestone 1, look at that, milestone 2, milestone 3, so that PMs and engineers know where to look at. They may or may not, actually I like this order better, but they may or may not know which of these is final. Maybe they're building M0, but they get confused if they see more things. So sometimes this is where I actually use emojis sparingly to help me label what's final and what's not. And so I would usually do a check here to just tell them that this is where they need to look, and that maybe M2 I wouldn't even put it if I'm not working on it. But I see these as screenshots in time of what they need to build. So for M0, what they need to build is ready, and this for M1 is in progress. So I would just go like super clear like that. Reason why I say these are a screenshot in time is because I don't want them to look at explorations and get confused onto what's final and what's not. So I just package it up in a nicely organized way in M0, and I usually have something similar to like this plus some text on top, like to describe, well, I usually do different colors, but you get the idea. And everything that is under here relates to this test. Everything that is under another one of these blocks becomes something else. So I use blocks like these to organize my content. Once I have this, it's good to go. But in that in between, there are a number of accessory pages that a project may require. Maybe something is super simple and it doesn't, but let me just show you a couple of ones that may come up. So you may need, let's get into this scenario. You may need to do some research. So again, I want a screenshot in time of what design I want to show users. So I'll just go here and say research June 20th. All right, and then here I'll work on the actual mocks that we're going to show users. Maybe sometimes I remove some information to make it less confusing for them and focused. So I just put whatever I have here. And similarly, I do the same for presentations let's say maybe the day after we have results from research, or prototypes. Similar thing. I want them to be a screenshot in time because I'm trying to share maybe one specific interaction and not the whole project. So I like to have these as the bottom of the list, something that I can reference to with the link if I need to, but I don't need people that are exploring this file to accidentally go there and think that this is maybe the most recent. I just want people to stay in the top 3 or 4 tabs, which is eventually what they'll check. Now, if all of this sounds interesting or any of this resonates with you, I have good news. So I've been working on this framework for a little bit, and what has worked for me may be very well good for others too. And so I've put together what I've been calling a design project template. And let me go at the very start of this. I've published it on Figma community, and you can find it. I'll push the link down in the description below. But it has a number of features to get you unblocked from that creative block, product designer block that you may have while looking at a blank Figma document. So it has a number of cool things, but I just want to highlight 2 that have really been helpful for me. So other than the pagination here, which definitely helps because you don't have to focus on the design yet, but you focus on how you organize it first, I have these 2 tabs which are really interesting, and I've been using for a long time on Paper, the software from Dropbox that we use to create documentation. But more and more I think about it, more I think that they should live in Figma. So I've started this project overview template that has some prompts. So it has some questions that you can ask yourself to figure out where to start. Is this the problem worth solving? How are we solving this problem? Has this been solved before? What is the design proposal? What are the risks? So this should get you going, because just by answering these questions, it should start getting your creative flows out. That plus another thing that I usually do on my own and I have in my mind, and I thought, well, maybe it's good to write down, and Chichi, a coworker of mine, actually wrote it down already, so I decided to just incorporate it here, just like she did it. Didn't need to change anything. And it's basically a checklist to make sure that your projects are accessible, they follow design system guidelines, and that you've basically followed all the steps that you are supposed to follow. So all of this and a ton more are in this template. Now, I don't expect you to use all of this, but if this can be a starting point for you where you can remove tabs and add your own, that would make me so happy. So let me know if this is useful at all. Duplicate it, make your own version, upload it to Figma, and let me know in the comments below if you want anything to change of this template, or if you find that something else for you is useful in getting unblocked. So this is all. Thank you so much for listening in, and if you want more videos like this, let me know. I hope to find you at the next video. Have a good one.